This is one sector where there is a lot of risk as well.
What I'm telling investors is that this is the opportunity of lifetime for India as a country.
At a right valuation will also become challenge. How do you manage that piece?
Companies which are not just running on narratives but which have the real capability.
China is exiting that market.
That's going to be the big game changer.
Elections are very nearby. What kind of risk you are seeing?
But I also see that elections could be a great opportunity.
How do you manage your own money?
We are investing along with you.
హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ టు మనీ పర్స్. చాలా రోజులైంది కదా మన ఛానల్లో ఎక్స్పర్ట్ సిరీస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేసి. గ్యాప్ వచ్చినా కూడా ఒక సాలిడ్ ఇంటర్వ్యూతో అయితే మేము ముందుకు వస్తున్నాం. చూస్తారు కదా, మీకే అర్థమైపోతుంది. సో రీసెంట్ టైంలో బాగా బజ్లో ఉన్న వర్డ్ ఇది ఇన్ఫ్రా. అంటే ఇన్ఫ్రా అనగానే ఓన్లీ రోడ్స్ మాత్రమే కాదు, రైల్వేస్, డిఫెన్స్, పవర్, ఇలా వేరియస్ ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా చాలా కంపెనీస్లో మనకి చాలా మంచి మూమెంటం కనబడుతుంది కదా. ఇన్వెస్టర్లు కూడా ఏ కంపెనీ పడితే ఆ కంపెనీ ఈ మూమెంటంలో అయితే కొనేస్తున్నారు. యాక్చువల్లీ ఇన్ఫ్రా థీమ్లోని మనం ఫోకస్ ఎక్కడ చేయాలి, అండ్ అలాగే మనకి ఎలక్షన్స్ కూడా రాబోతున్నాయి కదా. ఎలక్షన్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా రిస్క్ ఎంత ఉన్నది, అండ్ ఎలాంటి కంపెనీస్ని అవాయిడ్ చేయాలి, అండ్ మంచి పోర్ట్ఫోలియో క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవాలంటే మనం తీసుకోవాల్సిన జాగ్రత్తలు ఏంటి, ఇలాంటి చాలా సాలిడ్ డిస్కషన్ అయితే జరిగింది చరణ్జీత్ గారితో. హీ హాస్ గివెన్ అస్ టైం. నా ఒక సజెషన్ ఏంటంటే ఇంటర్వ్యూని స్కిప్ చేయకుండా కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేసి చూడడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. వీలైతే నోట్స్ రాసుకోండి, ఎందుకంటే చాలా హిడెన్ థీమ్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా ఆయన మాట్లాడారు అన్నమాట. వాటి రిలేటెడ్ మనం ఫర్దర్గా కూడా వర్క్ చేద్దాం, వాటి గురించి డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. ఎందుకంటే రియల్లీ చాలా మంచి ఆపర్చునిటీ అయితే ఉన్నది, మార్కెట్ అయితే ఫోకస్ చేయట్లేదు. అండ్ వీడియో చివరిలోని కొన్ని స్పైసీ క్వశ్చన్స్ కూడా అడిగాను. పర్సనల్గా ఆయన ఎక్కడ ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేస్తారు అతని డబ్బులు, అండ్ అలాగే ఆయన పోర్ట్ఫోలియో రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా మీకు ఆయన మేనేజ్ చేసే ఫండ్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో అది కూడా మీకు డిస్ప్లే చేస్తాను. అండ్ ఎవరికైతే ఇంగ్లీష్ అర్థం కాదో మీకు లాస్ట్లో తెలుగులో సమ్మరైజ్ కూడా చేస్తాను ఎంటైర్ కాన్వర్జేషన్ని. అండ్ వీడియో చూసినప్పుడు వీడియో రిలేటెడ్గా మన టీం పెట్టిన ఎఫర్ట్ నచ్చినట్టయితే మేము అడిగేది ఒకటే, వీడియోని లైక్ చేయండి, అండ్ అలాగే మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్ షేర్ చేయండి. అండ్ బై ది వే డిస్క్లోజర్ కూడా ఇవ్వాలి. ఎవరైతే ఇదేమైనా పెయిడ్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ అలా ఏమైనా అనుకుంటారేమో, అలాంటిది ఏముంటుంది. ఎక్స్పర్ట్ సిరీస్లో అలాంటిది ఏది జరగదు. మా పర్సనల్ ఖర్చులతో నేను యశ్వంత్ ఇద్దరు వేరే వర్క్ మీద ముంబైలో అలా వెళ్ళినప్పుడు ఇంటర్వ్యూ అండ్ అలాగే ఇంకొక ఇంటర్వ్యూ కూడా చేసాం అన్నమాట. ఫస్ట్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయితే మీకు ఇమీడియట్గా రిలీజ్ చేసినట్టయితే మీకు బెనిఫిట్ అవుతుందని ఫస్ట్ రిలీజ్ చేసేస్తున్నాం. నెక్స్ట్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా మీకు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాను అదేంటి అన్నది. దాన్ని కూడా త్వరలోనే రిలీజ్ చేస్తాం. లెట్ మీ ప్లే ద ఇంటర్వ్యూ నౌ. థ్యాంక్స్ Charanjit for giving time for our viewers. And you are in most happening sector right now. Viewers, I don't know whether you know it or not, Charanjit manages Tiger Fund, DSPs, which is infra focused fund, and now last 2-3 years we know what is happening in infra space, and his fund is also doing fantastically well. Charanjit, one question, when it comes to infra, power and all, yes, government is focusing on these sectors, everything is going good, but this is one sector where there is a lot of risk as well when compared with IT and pharma. There is a lot of corporate governance issues also we see in this sector. How do you manage, and how do you filter out? That is what I want more.
Okay, so I think that's a very important question here, because when you look at infrastructure, everybody thinks about this as a just a construction oriented business. See, India as a country, we have gone through our own learning curve, right? We have built large amount of our infrastructure only in the last 10 years, and through that cycle we have gone through that learning curve of making sure that how the tenders are getting placed, how contractors are coming and bidding for those contracts, and how payments are done. So all those things we have gone through a cycle. So if you look at previous cycle, it was mainly termed as infrastructure cycle, but within infrastructure we see that there are a lot more things which are happening, and this cycle is going to be very different from what we saw in the past.
Okay.
In the past, what we saw is companies took excessive risk, went into areas where they were not, supposed to be present. They didn't understand those areas, and they didn't understand the risks associated with those areas.
Okay.
What we are seeing now is this is going to be more of a manufacturing-driven cycle for India.
Okay.
That is going to be the big shift. And what I'm telling investors is that this is the opportunity of lifetime for India as a country.
Oh wow, okay.
That is the very big statement, because this is giving me a visibility for the next 10-15 years where India is headed from here right now.
Okay.
And what is changing for India is becoming a manufacturing hub, first focusing on its own domestic requirement and then catering to the world. So when COVID came in, then the new term came in, China plus one strategy. We have started seeing some of the benefits coming because of that strategy.
In infra?
It's not. So that's what I'm saying. Infra is a very vast or a very big term. But within that infra, you have manufacturing sector,
Okay.
which feeds into a lot of these infrastructure sectors. So
Okay.
what you define infrastructure is railways,
Hmm.
roads,
Hmm.
oil and gas sector, telecom, power. All these are large infrastructure sectors,
Yes.
but they also require a lot of manufacturing to feed into that.
Okay.
So it is as an investor for you to
Okay.
decide that which part of the exposure you want to take,
Okay.
how less risk exposure you can take and benefit from that cycle.
Okay.
So that is a big shift. What we are seeing is that we are not just going to focus on the construction companies,
Okay.
but there's a large ecosystem which is evolving on the manufacturing side.
Okay, so for a large infra company, there are many suppliers, so you'll be focusing on the supplier piece.
Correct.
Because many suppliers will make actual good money when
That's true.
compared with
Yeah.
the direct infra company, because they need a lot of capital.
Yeah. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to stay away from asset intensive businesses.
Okay.
We are trying to look at companies. Now if you look at the government spending itself, so central government has been pushing a lot on the infrastructure spending. Now you'll ask, Charanjit, where are they spending? So first they are spending on roads, second is railways, third is defense, fourth is water. These are the four largest sectors where the spending is happening.
Okay.
What we are also seeing is that railways now has taken a main focus area from the government side. In FY12, in railways we are spending only 50,000 crores per annum of capex. Today we are doing 3 lakh crores of spending on railways. And you'll say, where we are spending? We are electrifying our railways.
Yes.
We are adding more wagons. We are adding locomotives to increase the overall speed, to increase the share of freight for railways within the overall logistics sector. So this is where we are spending. Defense, after the Ukraine war, India realized that 65% of our inventory in defense is coming from Russia. So what will happen if there's a two-front war? How will you make sure that your security is being taken care of in that kind of a scenario? That is where defense as a theme became very large, which was not there in the previous cycle. Railways as a theme was not there in the previous infrastructure cycle. Water didn't exist 5 years back.
Yes.
Water we were spending in 21 only 10,000 crores per annum. This year we are going to spend 70,000 crores only on the water systems.
Okay.
And this is going to accelerate because water is going to become a scarce resource going forward.
Yes, for sure.
Now we have talked about roads, railways, defense and water. Now when I'm talking about manufacturing, so what is happening on the manufacturing sector? When COVID came, then world realized that we were depending highly on China in terms of manufacturing. 50 to 90% of components were getting manufactured by China. What COVID brought in were that the manufacturing supply chains got disrupted, the prices skyrocketed,
Yes.
and the purchase managers were not able to manage the supply chains. That is where they started looking for another partner for manufacturing. That is where India's opportunity of the lifetime started coming up. So what we are saying is that if you want to become a manufacturing hub, where manufacturing as a percentage of GDP today is 18%, what we want to do is we want to take it up to 25%.
Okay.
That will require enabling infrastructure. You need to have good roads, you need to have railways, you need to also have defense so that you can protect your nation, you need to have good water. Everything will be required to build our manufacturing infrastructure. And you can look at the history, countries like Germany, China, all of them became strong by investing heavily into manufacturing space.
Yes.
So it is not only China plus one, but it is also now Europe plus one. Europe is going through the biggest energy crisis they have seen in the past, and that is happening because their supplies of gas from Russia got cut.
Yes.
So it means that they are also looking for partners who can manufacture for them. Their supply chains have got disrupted. So that is where India is now developing the infrastructure, the manufacturing value chain. Everything is coming up, and that's what is making me excited for India as a story for the next 10-15 years.
Yeah, long-term story, yes, perfectly all right. I buy your point, but there is at the same time there is a lot of mad rush also happening in market, right?
Yeah.
Stocks which are just going up based on the order announcements.
Right.
So without even understanding whether they make money or they don't, on the execution capability also people are stop thinking and all. So in such case, for you picking up in at a right valuation will also become challenge. How do you manage that piece?
So I think what your point is very valid. See, what happens is when the capital cycles start, there's generally a very big frenzy because everybody wants to buy those stocks. Fine. So one is that you need to focus on companies which are not just running on narratives but which have the real capability. So what I will as a process start off with themes. Which are the big themes which are going to play out, and what could be the time frame for these themes.
Okay.
Like railways, is it a 5 or 10 years theme? Water, again it's a very longer term theme, right? Defense, again it's a very long term theme because we are going to do a lot of import substitution.
Yes.
Right? Power is another big theme which is going to play out because that's a main ingredient.
Yes.
So once we have the understanding, okay, which are the themes, then we start getting into the companies.
Okay.
Then we start identifying the companies that which have the capabilities in terms of meeting the requirements of these themes. We look at segments which are not fragmented. Fragmentation means that there are multiple number of companies and the market shares are spread across companies, so they don't have pricing power. Even if the demand growth comes up, your companies will not be able to fully benefit from that. We look for consolidated segments where few players are able to control higher market share. We also look at the demand supply models in each of these segments. For example, now when you look at power ecosystem itself, there are various ways to play this power theme. You can play it through utilities, you can play it through cables and wires manufacturers, transformer equipment manufacturers, EPC contractors. Then you take the call as an investor that where is the better profit pool.
Okay.
Which segment can give me a better profitability growth. And what happens in the capital cycles is that when you are in the beginning of the cycle, you are not able to project really that how strong the cycle could be. You are only getting the indicators right now. But what we have seen is that as the acceleration in the cycle happens, the top line growth accelerates, the bottom line growth faster acceleration is there because of the fact that the margins start expanding. And that happens because of the demand supply mismatches. And a lot of segments, what we are seeing is that last 10 years, for the capital goods sector was so brutal that a lot of companies, they didn't add capacities. A lot of companies fell through the cracks. So now it is the companies which are going to survive, they are going to benefit from this. There's not much of capacity in transformers, in cables and wire space, and that is where the demand is accelerating. So I think product companies which have good balance sheets, companies which are not on narratives, plus for investors it is also very important to look at the timelines.
Okay.
Some of the trends are trends of the future. Hydrogen is a very important trend, but it's not going to happen today. It could take 3-5 years to start accelerating.
Correct.
So what could be the timeline where it's going to happen immediately or it is going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years? As an investor, it's very important to understand that. And staying away from narratives, focusing on companies' capabilities, focusing on how large those markets are, how consolidated those markets are, those are going to be the key parameters on which we evaluate all these companies then.
Charanjit, you touched upon the transformer piece.
Yeah.
I was just reading a couple of companies there. There, people are saying China is exiting that market, and our Indian companies have started getting a lot of orders from the Europe and all.
Yeah.
Is that truly happening there?
Yeah, so I think I'm very happy that you are very well informed on this aspect, and good to see your knowledge. So see, what's happening is, in the power segment, so what we are saying is power is the most important ingredient for any manufacturing nation to pick up. Power capex is not only happening in India, it is happening across the globe. It's happening in US, it's happening in Europe. Now I'll say, why is it happening? It is happening because everybody is doing a very big energy transition. Energy transition is not just a buzzword, it's a very important phenomena which is happening across the globe. Because we are moving away from coal-based technologies.
Yes.
We are moving more towards renewable.
Yes.
Next phase will be moving towards hydrogen. Fine. So it means that US has not invested on its grid for last 50 years.
Oh, okay.
Fine. Europe is moving away from the Russian gas. That's why they are investing in the power sector. But on the one hand, they are building their infrastructure and power. Second, they have actually stopped supplies from China. What they have done is they have put tariff barriers. They are saying that we don't want companies sourcing from China.
Okay.
So who will fill this gap?
Oh. Okay.
Who is going to fill this gap?
Big or
So
massive.
companies which are certified, companies which have manufacturing capabilities, companies which have products which are approved will be able to start doing exports from India. And some of the companies which we hold in our funds, they are already seeing the benefit coming for that. In India also, what we have done is we have stopped taking sourcing from the companies which have Chinese origins. So that suddenly has taken a lot of capacities out of the system. So as those capacities go out of the system, then again, like we talked about, there's a lot of demand supply mismatch. There's a huge demand and the supply is less. That is what is creating the positive environment for companies in this sector, and the companies are now talking about doubling their capacities to meet this requirement. So what I'm saying is that the power capex, this theme is not only in India, this is a global theme. And another important data point, if you look at what is happening in the end markets, right? Now, when I look at power, the biggest usage is first is domestic requirement, which is, our households. 25% of the power demand comes from that. Now, you will agree with me, as the temperature is becoming harsher, room AC is becoming not a luxury, but it's a necessity for everyone, right? Now, when you are talking about industries, and a lot of your viewers who will have their own businesses, who will be knowing, what we are seeing is manufacturing sector is suddenly booming. Everybody is talking about, but manufacturing sector again requires a lot of power. Fine. Then we are going to talk about electric vehicles, again requires power. Railways has done now 100% electrification. So you see the thought process here again, we are trying to move or shift, do the energy transition from crude to renewable. That is a thing which is creating a lot of push on this entire, power value chain, which is not just going to happen in next 1 year. It is a process which will happen for the next 5 years and it will continue.
Always when it comes to infra as a sector, will carry the government risk, because government is the consumer for these companies. So now elections are very nearby. So what kind of risk you are seeing, or do you see, as we are, it's not about domestic consumption, we are also exporting now. So in that case, our election might not be very big event for the sector. So how do you see this risk coming in?
So I agree with you. Elections generally, is being perceived as a very, big risk for these sectors, because a lot of, policy decisions. So what we have seen is that, elections per se could only slow down things for a short period of time. Why does that happen? Is because government goes into the election mode. There is a code of conduct which gets implemented. During that time frame, not a lot of ordering happens. Now the point is that when you look at the construct of the overall capex in India, there is central government capex, there is state government capex, there is private capex, and then there is a real estate sector. There are 4 sectors which are the large capex drivers. Fine. Now the policies which are being made for India, these are the policies which no individual party can take a call to change them. Because if we are talking about banning imports and doing a lot of manufacturing in the country, that's a country call which we have taken. Fine. If we are saying that okay, we need to start investing on railways, these tenders have been placed for next 10 years of sourcing. It is not that just 1 year it will change the things. So what my thought process is that we are running into a risk of just maybe a 1 year kind of a delay to all these things happening. And what we are also seeing is that still private sector has not come back in a big way for the capex. That's going to be the big game changer. Now why is it going to happen is, now 10 years private sector has not invested. Now private sector is seeing that there are viable projects, capacity utilizations are going up, the demand environment is strong. So at any point of time, with their balance sheets being strong, they need to now come back to the market and start expanding capacities. Like you're rightly saying, it is not only for domestic, it's also for the export markets. So I think elections is a risk, but I also see that elections could be a great opportunity. When markets have run up so much, you always wait for the times when the market weakness is there. I would like to build my positions or increase my positions when there's so much of uncertainty. When everybody turns negative, that's a time when you are able to buy these businesses. Because if you have that clear thought of next 3 to 5 years, like what I've explained to you, then you will be very happy to add those businesses when the things are negative, and when everybody is perceiving that the things are going to be negative for a short while. So I think that's going to be an opportunity which your viewers should look at. But I see that as a country, we have taken a big call in terms of focusing on manufacturing, in terms of self-reliance or Atmanirbharta in manufacturing.
Charanjit, I'm saying this on record. It was fantastic fantastic explanation. I think because this in entire shoot purpose is different, so I might need a good 1.5 hour time. My viewers also, I think they love to listen because you gave one of the best explanations, I can say. Guys, if you want a exclusive interview of Charanjit, please let me know. I'll ask him. We might next time do it through Zoom, because I think there is a lot of things. While you are explaining, I'm getting a lot of questions. But yes, I know this video will stretch, so I'll jump into the next section. We spoke about your fund part. How do you manage your own money? Like, where do you allocate your money?
See, the point is, as DSP, we have that the food which we are serving, we also eat ourselves. So our money gets invested in our own funds.
Okay.
So funds we manage, Tiger Fund and the other 2 funds where I co-manage, their large part of our salaries will get deployed in that.
Okay.
So I think that's the confidence which we also want to give to the investors.
Okay.
That if we are investing along with you,
Okay.
so that is, I think, the best way. And if we are so confident and so excited about this theme, so I think that's the best way I can show it to the investors. And that's the highest
that
allocation.
Statement generally it's good, but at what percentage of your net worth is going, that matters. So how much of your entire net worth is which goes into real estate, how much into equity, how much is in your own fund?
So see, every month 20% has to get deployed into the own funds.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the best you can do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, because from an asset class perspective, I think equities are the best asset class which you can own.
Okay.
And which can give you inflation adjusted everything returns. And when I look at these companies, I look at them more as businesses.
Okay.
I would like to add companies which are turning around, because they have a huge potential of re-rating in terms of the PE multiples and earnings growth coming in. So I think that gives me more excitement when I'm seeing companies after maybe 5 years coming out of very dull phase and suddenly starting to do well. And I've seen that is where you make your maximum money, because those are the companies which have gone through very painful period and they've survived.
True.
But when the earnings growth comes in and the street is not looking at that, that is where you are able to differentiate.
And in fact, competition dies that period.
Yeah. So those are the survivors, thrivers.
Okay.
So I think equities provide that opportunity.
Okay. What percentage of your net worth is in equities?
So I think that's if I have to look at 40% will be into the equities.
Equities. Okay. In 40%, how much will be in mutual fund and direct equity?
It's only mutual funds.
Only mutual funds.
We don't do direct equities. Only mutual funds. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Actually, I don't know if we continue, this can go long, because I really this is a honest opinion on record. I'm saying one of the best explanations I have seen in recent time. If my viewers are interested, then we'll do one more session.
Sure.
Thanks, Charanjit.
It was pleasure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ గైస్. ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఎంట్రీలోని కీ పాయింట్స్ ఏవైతున్నాయో తెలుగులో సమరైజ్ చేస్తాను. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్, చరణ్జిత్ గారు ఏం చెప్తున్నారంటే, ఇన్ఫ్రా థీమ్లోని మనం ఫోకస్ చేయాల్సింది గవర్నమెంట్ ఎక్కడైతే స్పెండ్ చేస్తుందో అక్కడ ఫోకస్ చేయాలి. గవర్నమెంట్ మేజర్గా 4 థీమ్స్ మీద అయితే ఎక్కువగా స్పెండింగ్ చేస్తున్నది. ఒకటి రోడ్స్, ఇంకోటి రైల్వేస్, ఇంకోటి డిఫెన్స్, ఇంకోటి వాటర్. వాటర్ ఈజ్ సంథింగ్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇప్పుడు మార్కెట్లో పెద్దగా డిస్కస్ చేయట్లేదు. దిస్ ఈజ్ వేర్ మై టేక్ అవే పాయింట్. అండ్ అలాగే ఇంటర్వ్యూ నుంచి ఇంకొక నా టేక్ అవే పాయింట్ ఏంటంటే, పవర్ ఏదైతే స్పెండింగ్ ఉన్నదో, పవర్ ఇన్ఫ్రా బిల్డ్ చేయడానికి మన ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంటే కాదు, వరల్డ్ వైడ్ కూడా వేరియస్ గవర్నమెంట్ స్పెండ్ చేస్తాం. దాని రిలేటెడ్ రీజన్స్ కూడా ఆయన చెప్పారు కదా. నవ్వు ఈ పవర్ ఇన్ఫ్రా ఏదైతే స్పెండింగ్ ఉన్నదో దీని రిలేటెడ్ మనం ప్లే చేయాలంటే కేబుల్స్ కానీ లేకపోతే ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మర్స్ కానీ ఇలాంటి థీమ్స్ అయితే ఉన్నాయి. ఈ థీమ్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా ఫోకస్ చేయొచ్చు. అండ్ అలాగే ఇంకొక నా టేక్ అవే పాయింట్ ఏంటంటే, పవర్ ఇన్ఫ్రా అనగానే మనకి వేరియస్ కంపెనీలు వచ్చేస్తాయి కదా. కొన్ని స్పేస్లో ఏంటంటే ఎంట్రీ బ్యారియరే ఉండదు, ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు ఎంటర్ అయిపోగలరు. అండ్ ఎప్పుడైతే ఫ్రాగ్మెంటెడ్ అయిపోద్దో ఎవరు డబ్బులు అయితే సంపాదించరు కదా. ఈ సేస్ అలా ఫ్రాగ్మెంటెడ్ సెక్టర్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో ఆర్ ఫ్రాగ్మెంటెడ్ థీమ్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటి మీద అయితే ఫోకస్ చేయండి. ఎక్కడైతే మనకి నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ప్లేయర్స్ తక్కువగా ఉంటారో దట్ ఈస్ వేర్ దే విల్ మేక్ మనీ అని చెప్పి, ఈవెన్ మనం కూడా అదే ఫాలో అవ్వాలి. దట్ ఈస్ వేర్ విల్ మేక్ మనీ అని చెప్పి కొన్నిసార్లు మనకి న్యూస్ వచ్చినప్పుడు ఈ కంపెనీకి ఆర్డర్ వచ్చింది, ఆ కంపెనీకి ఆర్డర్ వచ్చింది అని చెప్పి ఆర్డర్ల వెనకాల పరిగెడతామే, కానీ దానివల్ల మనకి వెల్త్ క్రియేషన్ అయితే జరగదు. అందుకని ఈ పవర్ థీమ్లో కూడా కన్సాలిడేట్ అయిపోయి కొంతమంది ప్లేయర్స్ ఉన్న ఏవైతే థీమ్స్ ఉన్నాయో వాటి మీద మనం ఫోకస్ చేయడం అయితే బెటర్. అండ్ ఇంకొక ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్ కూడా ఆయన అడ్రస్ చేశారు, హైడ్రోజన్ ఎనర్జీ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా మనకి చాలా నాయిస్ అయితే వినబడుతుంటుంది కదా. హైడ్రోజన్ థీమ్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో డెఫినెట్లీ ఇది ఫ్యూచర్ థీమే, కాకపోతే అది ప్లే అవ్వడానికి మనకి 4-5 ఇయర్స్ అయితే పడుతుంది. సో అలా ఇమ్మీడియట్గా ప్లే అవ్వని థీమ్స్ ఏవైతేనే వాటిల్లో పెద్దగా నెక్స్ట్ 4-5 ఇయర్స్ అయితే రిటర్న్ రాదు. కాబట్టి అలా నెరేటివ్స్ కాకుండా మనం కాంక్రీట్గా ఎక్కడైతే ఎర్నింగ్స్ వస్తుందో అలాంటి వాటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయడం అయితే బెటర్. ఓవరాల్గా ఇంటర్వ్యూ నుంచి అయితే మనం తీసుకోవాల్సిన కీ టేక్అవే పాయింట్స్ గైస్, ఇక్కడ ఏవేవైతే థీమ్స్ మీద ఆయన మాట్లాడారో వాటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి, ఫర్దర్గా హోంవర్క్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. ఆపర్చునిటీ అయితే చాలా ఉన్నది. అండ్ ఇన్ఫ్యాక్ట్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ యాజ్ ఎ థీమ్ లైఫ్ టైమ్ ఆపర్చునిటీ కింద అయితే ఆయన మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. వీ ఆల్సో నో క్లియర్లీ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ రిలేటెడ్గా అయితే చాలా పుష్ అయితే మనకు వస్తుంది. చైనా నుంచి కానీ లేకపోతే యూరోప్ నుంచి కానీ చాలా ఆర్డర్స్ అయితే మన కంపెనీస్కి వస్తున్నాయి. సో ఈ థీమ్లో ప్లే అయ్యే కంపెనీస్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటిని మంచి కంపెనీస్ని పిక్ చేసి మనం హోల్డ్ చేయగలిగినట్టయితే లాంగ్ టర్మ్కి వీ కెన్ ఆల్సో మేక్ మనీ. నా ఎవరైతే ఇన్వెస్టర్ స్టాక్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఫోకస్ చేయలేరో వాళ్ళు ఈవెన్ ఫండ్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా ఫోకస్ చేసినా కూడా ఈ థీమ్ ద్వారా అయితే బెనిఫిట్ అయితే పొందొచ్చు. అండ్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేసేటప్పుడు నాకు యాక్చువల్ చరణ్జిత్ గారితో ఇంకా చాలా టైం ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది అనిపించింది. నేను మనకి లిమిటెడ్ టైమే దొరికిందన్నమాట. మీకు కూడా అలా అనిపించినట్టయితే చెప్పండి. ఎక్కువ మందికి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్నట్టయితే మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశాను, ఈసారి ట్రావెల్ అయితే చేయలేను. నేను లాస్ట్ టైం అంటే వేరే వర్క్ కూడా ఉన్నది కాబట్టి కంబైన్ చేసి మా పర్సనల్ ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ ట్రావెల్ చేసాం. నెక్స్ట్ టైం జూమ్లో అయితే చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తాను. అండ్ అలాగే ఆయన పిక్ చేసిన ఏవైతే థీమ్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడారో వాటిలో ఏదైనా స్పెసిఫిక్ థీమ్స్ గురించి మీకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్నట్టయితే చెప్పండి, వాటి మీద కూడా వర్క్ చేసి మీకు వీడియోని అయితే తీసుకురావడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తాం. అండ్ అలాగే యాక్చువల్లీ ఈ చరణ్జిత్ గారినే కాకుండా ఈవెన్ ఫార్మా యాజ్ ఏ సెక్టర్ చూసినట్టయితే లాస్ట్ 3 ఇయర్స్గా పెద్దగా పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ లేదు కదా. ఈ ఫార్మా సెక్టర్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఏమైనా ట్రిగర్స్ ఉన్నాయా అని చెప్పి ఫార్మా సెక్టర్ ఫండ్ మేనేజర్ని కూడా ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయితే చేశాను. దాన్ని కూడా త్వరలోనే మీ ముందుకైతే తీసుకురావడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తాను. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ ఎంటైర్ వీడియో గైస్. వీడియో నచ్చి ప్రొడక్ట్ లైక్ చేయడానికి అయితే వీడియోని లైక్ చేయండి. అండ్ అలాగే మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్ కూడా వాల్యూ యాడ్ అవుతుంది, మంచి కాన్వర్సేషన్ అనిపించినట్టయితే వాళ్ళకి తప్పకుండా షేర్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. నేను సాయి కృష్ణ పత్రి మరొక ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ వీడియోతో మీ ముందుకు వస్తాను. టిల్ దెన్ బాయ్, టేక్ కేర్.